Press.
All right. These socialists bring up the culture wars, which is basically a war on men. And of course, they're going to get it wrong. Okay. So let's hear what they have to say. Sorry about that. Get that back up. Hit this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I agree. I was just watching this stuff for whatever reason, for entertainment. There's a YouTube creator that I like who kind of looks at all these streamers and almost analyzes it from the perspective of like, this is our culture decaying, like this is society decaying, the fact that these are our influencers nowadays. And as I was watching more of his videos and kind of diving into the world of these internet streamers, it almost made me start to understand Andrew Tate and why Andrew Tate's popular. Because he's a dum-dum. He admits to not reading books. He doesn't.
So you're talking about men's issues then. I mean, that's primarily why guys listen to Andrew Tate, right? Okay. And you're understanding that. Okay. So you understand that men's have issues. All right. Are you going to recognize that?
Practice what he preaches in many ways. He's obviously, blatantly misogynistic.
Okay. So you just called him the N-word, right? So again, why should I trust socialists or Marxists or whatever way you want to call yourselves? Right. Misogyny, I'm going to say this to your faces, Eddie Liger and Noah, Carlos. Misogyny doesn't exist. You have to scour the earth to find an actual misogynistic man. Misandry is the norm.
And talks about escaping the matrix without critiquing capitalism. But at least, he's like telling kids to make something of themselves. It's kind of like the Jordan Peterson effect, right? These kids are just surrounded with this nonsense, this sneak.
He means gain status, by the way, Eddie. That's what Tate means. Gain status, get the girl. Okay? You guys all want to get the girl too, so you guys got to gain status. You're getting status here on YouTube as best you can, right? Right. And I'm going to show you something. I have a video talking about where wives dump their house husbands out of resentment, right? So I got to ask you, like, how are you going to get the girl and not deal with capitalism? This is my honest question to you. How can you get out of the capitalistic rat race as a man if you're not willing to deal with gender dynamics?
Of the world, the Aiden Rosses of the world, who are just playing Minecraft or playing Fortnite and just ADD brain all over the place, sharing nothing valuable, nothing.
Well, it's valuable to people who want to play Fortnite, I guess. To people who want to play video games.
Of substance on their streams. And then Andrew Tate comes along and says, you should work out and you should be a man that people can respect, and you should not give in.
Really? So how would you respect him, right? So you become someone important, is what they're saying, right? Well, not everyone can be important. Most of us have to be nobodies. You guys are basic nobodies, okay? So why, Eddie, are you supporting that? Right? As a socialist, supposedly you don't have to be a somebody to get somewhere. But in your heart of hearts, all you socialists know that that's not the case, right?
Into your most base urges all the time, and
But gaining status to get the girl is a base urge. It's a base urge.
Have self-discipline. And it makes sense that in comparison to Sneeko and Aiden.
Self-discipline to get what, though? Your motivations and goals mean everything. So what's the motivation? To become someone as a man and then get the woman. That's it. And maintain her if you can. Carlos, Sandy, Noah, that's not much of a goal. That's not much of a motivation, is it? Right. And how would that play into your socialism, right? Right. You're bringing it up, so it's important to you, right?
Ross, that sounds like a good message. That sounds like a valuable message. So, as and we've stayed away from.
So, working hard to gain wealth and fame to finally get the girl. That's important to you? Then, dude, why are you a socialist? Why, Eddie, why are you a socialist? Because socialists get nothing. They don't get the girl. They don't get fame. They don't get status, right? They get dumped by their women.
From culture war stuff for the most part, but as I was watching this, I'm like, I feel like it's important.
So Andrew Tate talking young men is culture wars. Okay, then I was right. The culture war is a war on men. Okay, we got that.
For us to comment on this, to offer kids something else, other than Andrew Tate, a real movement against the matrix, so to speak, which is
Really, what are you going to offer them? Right? You just bragged up that Tate's message was good. So what's your alternative? I don't hear one.
communism, and offered by three people who would agree that you should have discipline and you should be someone that people can rely on and people that someone should respect. Offer kids that message from an outlet other than Andrew Tate. But
Well, when you say respect, you never give the criteria. Exactly. If you want to become a man who's respected, why should you be respected as a man? I mean, more than the average guy, right? Like, I hear nothing from you three.
Obviously we won't fall into the normal culture war back and forth that you see in the media every day, but I do want to comment on it a little bit from our own perspective and from an anti-capitalist perspective.
And it's so important because we have,
Again, how are you going to do it from an anti-capitalistic perspective? Women are socialists for themselves, but they expect their men to be hardcore capitalists. That's why this woman dumped her man, right? I got news for you guys. All women are LARPers as socialists. They select, their mate selection is for hardcore capitalists. Now, how are you going to deal with that situation?
we have to understand the people, and part of understanding the people in order to lead with them and through them is understanding why sections of them fall for these different things, why sections of them fall for the Adin Ross. I haven't seen those three. I've seen the Tate. Why sections of them fall for that, why sections of them fall for Tate, why they fall for different things. And part of this is not.
Well, this guy fell for it, didn't he? Did he brag up Tate's message, work out, gain status, become somebody, become respected, but no criteria, right? Just be respected. Okay, so seems like you guys are falling for it.
Not just like the sort of shallow rejection of like they're just fully wrong and fully manipulated. It's understanding what part of that discourse was rational enough for them to connect to it, at least at some level. And how can we take that perhaps very small seed of rationality and disconnect it from the view that it is currently in and reconnect it in something that's closer to truth and that's better and healthier for human beings? And that requires, engaging with.
Again, that sounds good, but I still haven't heard anything from you guys, right? What are you going to offer?
Very cringe videos, and people who you sit back and you're like, how does this person have hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers or something? They literally provide nothing of value. It's just condemning this and condemning the people who watch it is never enough, and you accomplish nothing by doing that. You have to understand what has driven people to this, what are the objective conditions that have driven them there, what are the subjective conditions which have driven them there, and only
right.
then can you begin.
This guy's got it right so far, but he's not mentioning what they are. I don't know if they ever will.
A battle that can actually substantially beat those people.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And not to always bring it back to Marxism, but that's what helps us understand these things, right? This is a reflection of the deterioration of our society right now, right? Of this era of reproletarianization as things get worse and worse.
Just I want to see this. Andrew Tate talks about women exactly how Caesar Milan, dog trainer guy, talks about dogs, word for word. Okay. Right.
This alienation people feel is
So this guy's complaining that Tate doesn't worship women. I mean, I guess that must be the case.
like, it's visceral, right? And so when there's this complete lack of anything good coming from the working class forces that were supposed to be there, of course people go, and you know, all they see instead is culture war stuff and things they don't relate to. Of course they glom on to someone like Andrew Tate, who says be respectable, you know, be someone people can depend on. That role needs to be filled by communists because we are the people that you can actually depend on. We're not saying that while trapped.
Really, we can depend on you. What are you guys going to do for these young guys, right? You haven't said anything so far other than you're the choice. You haven't really offered anything.
Trafficking women for, you know what I mean? Like actually fulfilling that ideal that they simply talk about. I mean, look at Jordan Peterson's life. He's not what he tells people to do, right? You can even...
That's true. He's a scam artist like Tate, right? Now, my question is, are you guys going to be scam artists?
When he's live streaming, I think it's funny because his room behind him is often not clean. And his whole thing is clean your room. You see that?
Yeah, he gained status to keep his wife around, right? That's what's going on here. He doesn't need a clean room. Clean room is euphemism for gained status, which Jordan Peterson did, right? So in that regard, he's not hypocritical, is he?
That's a clean fucking room. Sorry, but yeah, it's like...
Oh, guys, where are your girlfriends? How come there's 3 guys talking about this? Right. Where are all your women socialist flarpers?
Walking the walk as well as talking the talk is massively important because people do need that sort of influence, right? Especially young people. They need to see adults conducting them.
They don't even mention the young guys' issues, do they? Noah, if you can't mention a young man's issue, you don't even know what you're tackling.
Themselves in a way that doesn't say respect me, you know, please respect me, everybody else is horrible, that quietly demands respect. And I think there's a big difference between those things.
Absolutely.
How do you plan on demanding respect as a man in this misandric society? I don't hear anything. I don't hear any solutions, right?
I think we should just jump into the videos here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But we can watch it through this guy who analyzes stuff like this. He put together sort of a compilation of the clips. But basically, Andrew Tate's on house arrest right now for the trafficking charges. So every once in a while, he hits up this...
The trafficking charges are bullshit. They're young women glomming onto him because of his status, which is exactly why Wayne gained status in the first place. And they use these trafficking charges to jail him for that. To jail him for something that the men who jailed him would do in a heartbeat, right? Like there's the hypocrisy here. The authorities who arrested Andrew Tate are actually more hypocritical than Andrew Tate.
Major streamer, Aiden Ross and does these emergency meetings, he calls them, and it's basically just where Andrew Tate can talk to the world. But here they had Aiden on, obviously, and then they had this guy Adam22 as well, who's a podcast host that recently allowed his wife to make an adult film with another man, the mother of his kids, had her make an adult film with another man for money. And then,
so is this a problem for you as a Marxist? Right? Women rule in any relationship they're in. So his wife rules, right? For him to pander to her, to keep her around, she's willing to say, I want to sleep with other guys. Okay, let's see if he ever voices what his problem is with this.
he's obviously gotten a lot of backlash for that on the internet, and his only response is, "Oh, I just view it as a business transaction. I view my wife sleeping with another man as a business transaction." So literally, he's like commodified his wife.
No. She's commodified herself, and all women do. Gender relationships between men and women are one of commodification. Right. Women are always selling their sex to men. Period. All of them. So what's your issue exactly with this one? Right.
And Aiden Ross and Tate invite that guy on the stream to have a conversation with him. So obviously there's a lot of commentary there for us to make as well.
Notice these socialists, in their heart of hearts, are traditionalist. Because men and women are the same worldwide.
And Wayne says Aiden Ross can't even read. I'm not kidding. He doesn't know how to read. You guys might think that's a joke if you don't know who Aiden Ross is. Once you see this kid, it's really.
Why do I care? Why do I care? And what's this got to do with anything?
Really honestly sad that this is the kind of kid who's influencing society, and he's addicted to sipping lean as well. But
dude, society, men like you want to gain status. This young guy got status. He succeeded. So I mean that's the way it is. So that's why the guys listen to him, right? Why have an issue with something you really don't have an issue with? That's what you're trying to do yourselves.
Yeah, I told you guys we're going through the shits today, so prepare yourselves. Here, I gotta share my screen. So this is from a YouTube channel called Too Lazy to Try. This is the guy who covers this basically from the perspective of like, this is an example of our society decaying, and he uses this picture of George Costanza.
Yeah, well, George Costanza, I mean, that character was made in the 1990s, right? So is society actually crumbling, or is this just what men and women are and always have been? Right. I mean, he kind of defeats his own purpose when he chooses a character that's 30 years old, right?
It's pretty funny. But
He recently just did one of his emergency meetings over on Rumble, and he had on Aiden Ross. So, of course, most of the stream was Aiden saying a bunch of gay stuff and acting like an idiot. And then things got even worse when they brought on Adam22, and he asked Andrew if he'd do it.
Oh, by the way, guys, notice that young lady basically in a bikini sitting there. Is she not selling her body? Is she not just selling her sex appeal? Do you have a problem with this? Is this a part of the degradation of society? If you think that, what are you going to do about that? Are you going to tell these women to start covering up? I'm curious. What are you Marxists going to do about this?
DP with him and his wife, and then Aiden started asking a bunch of questions about their whole situation, And then at that point, Andrew's just like, all right, I can't take this anymore. We need to change the conversation. So this stream was a mess. You could tell halfway through it, Andrew was thinking, what am I doing with my life? Like, this is not the best representation of what it's like to escape the matrix. You know, if this is what it looks like, if this is what you spend your time.
The matrix is a joke anyway. These guys don't escape the matrix. They're a part of it. And so are you. So are you socialists. What are you guys doing differently? What have you changed? Huh? Nothing. You haven't even changed your own behavior. You have all these typical tradcon emotions about male and female dynamics, right? Let's see if there's anything worthwhile going on.
Belong to different eras. Andrew Tate is upholding an older form of bourgeois respectability mixed with, a form of preaching of masculinity that's got.
Well, that's what gets the girls, isn't it? Right? So again, what are you Marxists going to offer? Right? Again, I notice all the girlfriends that are not here, right? This Marxist, socialist idea movement is male driven, isn't it?
Some sexism and some patriarchy mixed in. And
okay, shut up. Right. Patriarchy doesn't exist. And this guy isn't sexist, at least not against women. If they're so sexist, how come they have all these hot girls just hanging around, leeching off them? That's real sexist, right? How dare some guy have some woman just show up and do nothing but hang around in a bikini, right? That's real sexist.
then the
She doesn't have to work for a living. She leeches off a guy.
modern form of bourgeois ideology, specifically the liberal wing of bourgeois ideology, is just rooted in sexual libertinism and just you could do anything you want and anything that even smells like.
Did you say sexual libertinism? Okay, so you admit it. You don't like the idea of this young fella letting his wife sleep around for money, right? Okay.
Rules or norms or imperatives are to be broken, and emancipation and freedom is reduced to just the constant breaking of any of those limitations. And it is a very.
I have to disagree. Tate isn't breaking any rules. He's following them. I don't think you guys are breaking any rules. You're following them too, right? Men gain status to get the girl. Those are the rules. And all these guys are following them.
Like crude and abstract and empty form of freedom that if you look at any of the greatest minds in the history of philosophy, all of them, whether it's Spinoza, Hegel, the classical Marxist authors, even someone like John Locke, they all are able to demarcate the difference between libertinism, so just no rules, you can do anything you want, and actual freedom. And the understanding has always been that actual freedom can only be something that is realized through certain norms and through certain laws and through determination. This idea that you have on one side determination and the necessary and laws, and then on the other side you have freedom and will is a false dichotomy. In reality, in order.
So you have to follow particular rules. I don't know about freedom, but yeah, that's true. Men have to follow the rules. That's right. Right. But do you want to stay with the old rules or come up with the new ones? And what are the new rules? Notice these guys who are so progressive. There's no new rules they're suggesting, right? They didn't tell us yet how a man is supposed to be respected. What's his first goal, right? He's going to be respected because he does what, right?
To have freedom, you can only have freedom through certain forms of regulation. And there go the chihuahuas.
Well, and understanding what is what the necessities are, right? When he says that freedom is nothing other than insight into necessity, that's what he's talking about. Is precisely what Carlos just said, added with overcoming the particulars of life, eating, shelter, water, etc. Getting those done, that then you can begin to think of freedom.
Well, isn't that what's going on here? Isn't it we now living in an easy society, and then women just dumping the guys in marriage, and they go their own way, and they sell their bodies whoever they feel like selling them, right? So, I mean, that's a consequence of having your needs met with ease.
Right. We got a super chat here from Apolitical Idealist. Thank you so much. I see a lot of online middle-class communists use capitalism as an excuse to be lazy and cry about their lives. Isn't personal development better? So this is part of what I'm saying.
Really lazy. So what are they supposed to be working towards? I notice this is always so vague, right? Middle-class communist uses capitalism as an excuse to be lazy, right? Okay, what are they supposed to be working towards, right? If they're a couple, the man's making money, otherwise woman wouldn't be there, right? So what they're really saying is they want more money, and they can't work well in the capitalist system, right?
This is why I feel like an alternative to a guy like Andrew Tate, a communist alternative to a guy like him, is so important, right? Because we believe in personal development. We believe in collective development too, and that.
Really? In what way? What are we developing into? What do you consider development? Do you see what's missing here, guys? The most important.
Personal development is in turn collective development, because we're all individuals that are part of a collective, and our individual being is, influenced by the collective too. But we believe in personal development. We believe that you should walk the walk, as Noah says in an excellent article that he wrote about how communists should conduct themselves day to day. Right. So that's why I'm saying an alternative is so important to this guy, Andrew Tate, especially for young men. Right, because young men right now have
Okay. One, you haven't mentioned any of the issues that these young men go through, right? So you can't even you're not even involved in the discussion, right? Secondly, you don't mention what it is you have to do to fulfill that. Now, these young guys are what? Basically lonely. They don't have the girl in their lives, right? That's what Andrew Tate is about. That's what, hey, I don't see any girls here amongst you three, right? So are you willing to admit that's what their problems is? That's what their issues are. And what do you suggest that they do to attract these women, right? Because it's certainly not become house husbands. They're going to have to work for a living and work hard, and they got to gain wealth. And fame would help too. Okay, are you going to admit any of that?
Influences like Sneeko, they have influences like Aiden Ross. So Andrew Tate offering them any kind of message of personal development seems more appealing, or eventually they start to realize that this life of debauchery and consumerism, doesn't lead to real happiness, and they look to somebody like Andrew Tate who tells them to develop themselves, right? But Andrew Tate then also says,
dude, they want a woman in their lives, right? Well, again, women don't self-develop. What they say if they're on a dating app, they say they love food and travel. They're basically saying, I want to pamper myself and I want to show off my status. That's what travel is. So if a guy wants to get together with a girl, the girl has the most based desires, period. So if a man wants true development, you would have to turn around and say to these young guys, you don't need the girl. You should stop having her as your motivation, right? You'd have to admit that. And you'd have to admit it for yourselves too, right? Because I say you're always surrounded by all these women. Okay, I think I've debunked this enough. These guys, I mean, come on. How can you embarrass yourselves like this? You've said a lot of hot air. There's nothing here. I agree. Leave the culture wars alone because you're no good at it. Goodbye, everyone.